Peace, beautiful humans. Hope this reaches you well as you are right where you are. So let's just start our time together in this way with some deeper breathing. Breathing all the way in and all the way out. This is my house, and my partner is in the kitchen cooking, so there will be noises. Just continue breathing, connecting to the breath, the in-breath as it moves from the earth up all the way in, and connecting as you breathe out from the deep, deep places inside of you as you offer your breath to the earth. Just honoring your body as it is. Honoring your shoulders as you breathe in, as the blood and the oxygen moves through your shoulders and your elbows and your hands. Honoring your feet and your knees and your hips. Just the fullness of this body, the complexity of this body as it moves on the earth, as it sleeps, as it eats, as it relates, as it thinks, as it feels, as it senses. Just honor it. So we'll just hold that just for a couple seconds. Just continuing to focus on your breathing. All right, peace. So you'll notice I have some candles lit here. I've got this video situated next to a host of rocks that I've gathered over the last year and a half. I'm making what I'm calling grounded being rock jewelry, which I'm so excited about. You probably have seen somewhere within some of my Patreon posting and or in other places invitations to wear one of these beautiful things, so be invited and reach out if you want just some, hey, how can I get one of those? I'm happy to share because I love the essence of us moving with just intention around ground and nature wisdom and nature connection. There's so much there. So holding space for just some words that I'm going to share, some invitation that I'm going to share. I think getting really tangible, at least before I start, what I would love to do is I'm going to start reading from a book called Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Maree Brown. And before I move us into the realm of listening and words and reading, I just want you to note this, like just starting this video with breathing and honoring our body, having candles lit, having a space that feels relaxing and calming and grounding for you, being comfortable, whatever that means for you, that all these things that we can either facilitate or invite, and so imperfectly and humbly for our groups, for our beloveds, our relationships, for these even new encounters with people we don't really know. That we can be stewards of facilitating spaces or moments where our full self can catch up and be present, even in doses, so that we're not just performing or defaulting or running around and producing all this. So there's going to be some of that framing in what I'm reading, and I just want to connect it and make it tangible around just how this video started and how we can bring these things into our everyday exchanges and practices. And it doesn't need to be with people. That before we go to a meeting or before we go to journey into a task, that we have practices like this that don't need to take too long, but that they can, that help us to center and help us to integrate all that we are. All that we are. All that we are, beloveds. All of it. All of it, all of it, all of it. We need so much for our whole story to be moving with us in healing ways, So I wanted to, I've been rereading this book, Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Maree Brown. I am such a fan of her way in the world and how she's writing and leading and holding space and facilitating. You know, when I think about meeting in institutions or meeting organizations or meeting individuals as professionals or as healers or as space holders, whatever it is, meeting the world or the culture as it is, with tools or guidance or frames that help, and as she says in this book, steer and turn us into more loving, more just, more open, more integrated beings, that we can bring our full self more intentionally into all these different spaces. And not only will it benefit and heal how we can show up, it will benefit and heal hopefully how others show up. And then it will ripple into their families and their lives. And then it will ultimately impact our energetic relationship to the planet, to creation, to all these things. So the ripple effect of honoring who we intuitively are made to be, inherently, intrinsically made to be inside of all these spaces. And so often it's like, well, how do I do that? How do I need a strategy, or and so kind of toying and molding with that question, not necessarily in a binary way going directly, well, here's the answer. But just as I love the last line of this poem, Joy Unspeakable by Barbara Holmes, Reverend Dr. Barbara Holmes, and the wonder of surviving together. So there's a lot of wonder and awe and spaces between language in this book, and in it of itself, that is a strategy to be bringing in time and space and conversation and invitation around what can emerge. How am I creating space for emergence, for things to naturally, organically, humbly, authentically emerge in you, in me, in the collective, in the mission, in the movement? And that is what this strategy is all about. This book is all about, and I'm loving it. And she's got an amazing, if you're into social media life, her Instagram is just a beautiful kind of stream of consciousness for who she is as a teacher. Anyway, and she's coming out with a new book, which will hold space for facilitation and actually kind of getting into more of a workshop frame. I don't know if that's the right way of saying it, but she's going to go into this second book around Emergent Strategy is going to be really focused on facilitating and holding this kind of invitation wherever you are. So what I want to do is I just want to read to you. I want you to, so just permission to just relax, sit back, permission to stand up and move around as you're listening, permission to pause and then listen to these words again, and just so they sink in. If you feel like you're getting distracted because it's going to be just me reading, I'll try and do some good vocal inflection so you can kind of stay in, but just be really mindful of like when you're starting to like kind of go off and pause, take some deep breaths, and then hit play, maybe rewind and watch again, like just to invite these words and these frames into your day, into your thinking, into your planning, into your being, all the things, with so much grace and so much humility for all of us imperfectly fumbling into these spaces and into these questions. So, Emergent Strategy, Shaping Change, Changing Worlds, Adrienne Maree Brown. I'm going to be reading from, it's going to be about maybe 10 minutes of reading, I would imagine. I'm going to just be reading, this is page 41, Principles of Emergent Strategy. Just take a deep breath. Just invite these words as flow, as water, as wind. In the study and practice of emergent strategy, there are core principles that have emerged and that guide me in learning and using this idea and method in the world. I gather them here with the expectation that they will grow. Small is good, small is all. The large is a reflection of the small. Change is constant, be like water. There is always enough time for the right work. There is a conversation in the room that only these people at this moment can have. Find it. Never a failure, always a lesson. Trust the people. If you trust the people, they become trustworthy. Move at the speed of trust. Focus on critical connections more than critical mass. Build the resilience by building the relationships. Less prep, more presence. What you pay attention to grows. In both workshops and in writing this book, I've noticed that it's pretty impossible to completely separate any one of the elements of emergent strategy from the others. Or rather, at the same time, each of these elements is distinct and is totally connected to every other element. When I speak about them, they shift in my mouth. In writing this book, 7 elements became 6, and they rearranged themselves several times to land in this order. It is not random, but it is not right either. It's just where things landed. I have seen other people learning about emergence and applying it to human systems and social justice systems in the world as well, and they have made good sense to me. For example, Complex Movements is a Detroit-based artist collective supporting the transformation of communities by exploring the connections of complex science and social justice movements through multimedia, interactive performance work. The Complex Movements crew uses an emblem system with ferns, ants, wavicles, mycelium, and more to engage communities in thinking about the formations and movements of the future. The particular organization of elements I present here is a snapshot of a theory in perpetual motion. This is the current configuration, which gives me the most space to reflect on my experiences in social justice movements, to invite others into conversations about how we work together, and to articulate my longing for something different. One of the ways I was able to identify these was by formulating my critique of the ways that social justice movements have felt, and where my longing for something else was strongest. Grace often said that every crisis is an opportunity, which is amazing theoretically and requires great emotional fortitude and practice, as well as the maturity to understand that the negative realization of that theory is disaster capitalism. So I just want to hold she's framing a lot of social justice movement language in here, and I would just, like, alongside of that, in any movement, anything however social justice being like, how, the inclusiveness to making the world a more loving and just place, whatever that looks like, in the webs of your family, in the webs of your community, in the webs of actual organizations and institutions that we define in this time. However your flowing presence impacts people and place. I think, so expanding beyond some of these terms a little bit, but just to invite that. So this next page, so after I finished at the bottom here, it goes into this, you'll see the top one is mycelium. The second one is ants. The third one is ferns. The fourth one is wavicle. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Wavicle? See? Imperfect. We don't know what the hell we're doing. Okay, starling. The fifth one is starlings. And the sixth one is dandelions. So I'm just going to read each of those individually. And this is inspired from a group in Detroit called Complex Movements. So it says, Complex Movements is also studying the relationship between emergence and movements for social justice. Their emblem system is a gorgeous way of learning properties of nature we can apply to our work. The first, mycelium. Mycelium is the part of the fungus that grows underground in thread-like formations. It connects roots to one another and breaks down plant material to create healthier ecosystems. Mycelium is the largest organism on Earth. Mycelium roots us then in interconnectedness, remediation, and detoxification. Mycelium, interconnectedness, remediation, and detoxification. Interconnectedness, horizontal interdependency. Remediation, re-going in, readdressing, re-movement. Detoxification, cleansing. So you can feel the movement, and the largest organism on the earth. And how are we relating and bringing that into our practices? The second, ants. Ant societies function through individual ants acting collectively in accord with simple, local information to carry on all of their survival activities. Every ant relies on the work of others in producing their own work, cooperative work, collective sustainability. Ants, cooperative, collective. Ants, working sustainably. In 2016, when I was, we had a typical kind of structure as a social business where I was kind of founding, leading this Walk to Connect organization, very much a social business, playing a lot in emergence around just not intuitively feeling that the for-profit model and making money as the bottom line didn't feel great, didn't feel right, didn't feel healthy. But also just nonprofit didn't feel healthy, didn't feel like that there's an industry complex in that. Foundations and groups kind of hold money, and people all the complexity of nonprofits. Beautiful things, and in business, beautiful things are coming out of these spaces. But for me and for this emergence, it's like, no, there's another way to go into this. So in 2016, me and a beautiful group of other people co-founded Walk to Connect as a cooperative, as a worker-owned cooperative where there was collective decision-making, no one person at the top, and we see what emerges. We see what shows up. We let go of one person being the savior, discerner, rule maker, top down. We decentralize, and we're in flow. And that means this organization might not last forever. It might be a season, or it might just evolve and morph as the people evolve and morph, which felt at least closer to being healthier as an integrated model, that we can take that back into our families, we take it back into our community work, we take it back into how we think about our own being and belonging on the planet. So all these things. So ants, cooperative work, collective sustainability. Asterisk, support local co-ops. Get to know your local co-ops in your area. Read and find the 7 values of cooperative business. Consider for yourself, how can I become a co-op member, or how can I consider a cooperative model in decision making? Third, ferns. Ferns are a form of fractal. A fractal is an object or quantity that displays self-similarity, which means it looks roughly the same at any scale. Small-scale solutions impact the whole system. Use similar principles to build at all scales. So just ferns, small-scale solutions impacting the whole system. So there's just this, I think just the discernment and the need to kind of look at the details, get into the weeds of these smaller, these more intricate and intimate ways of decision making or working together, or how, so that and the image of a fern as caring for and nurturing these smaller systems as a part of nurturing the whole. The wavicle, I don't know if I'm saying that right, or wave-particle duality suggests, this is the fourth, suggests that all objects exhibit both wave and particle properties. Between observations as it evolves on its own, it behaves like a wave, distributed across space, exploring different intermixing paths to all possible destinations. However, when its location or speed is measured, it appears definite and concrete, like a particle. Its wave nature gives this measurement a curious property. The more certain we are about either speed or position, the more uncertain we become about the other. Uncertainty, doubt, valuing both process and outcome. Wave-particle duality. I get this one is so rich. I mean, they all are. This one, though, I feel like there is just so much untapped energy around holding space and time, meetings, decisions, discernment, and allowing the collective to emerge within a realm of uncertainty, and the holy admitting of uncertainty, and the humility of naming uncertainty, valuing process, being in process, always being in process, and the humility of that. And the particles, the small solutions, the outcomes, the things that we can work towards together, and with always knowing we're experimenting and operating like a wave, with holy curiosity, always running around and guiding the way. There's so much beauty. The fifth, starlings. The synchronized movement patterns of a starling flock is also known as a murmuration. Guided by simple rules, starling murmurations can react to their environment as a group without a central leader orchestrating their choices. In any instant, any part of the flock can transform the movement of the whole flock. Collective leadership, partnership, adaptability. Collective leadership, partnership, adaptability. Starlings. So again, I'm just teasing some of these out a little bit. We talked a lot earlier. We held space for the cooperative, the collective, the horizontal, and adding this adaptability, like the capacity in us as we move at the pace of trust, as we imagine curiosity, as we hold humility and uncertainty, then our capacity. So I love the interplay work where, you're moving with one another, and I think, imagining, you can even just, if you can, put your hand up to the camera if you're watching this, and we're kind of listening to each other. So if you follow my hands, our adaptability to not be so, to cling on to our positions, clinging on to our postures, holding on for dear life to whatever it is that we think keeps us secure. And so our ability to adapt to flow, to emergence, to someone else's insights, and listening and flowing, and then maybe offering ours, and then so our ability to not just imagine this horizontal plane where we're always agreeing and thinking the same, because that's not real, that's not emergence. We're all carrying this universe of story and experience and discernment with us. So we all have this abundance, this capacity of abundance to contribute and to receive. So this you can see the starlings kind of all flying around, and there's this relationship between the people in the space. The sixth, dandelions. The dandelion flower the dandelion flower head can change into a white globular seed head overnight. Each seed has a tiny parachute that allows it to spread far and wide in the wind. The entire plant has medicinal properties. Dandelions are often mistakenly identified as weeds, aggressively removed, but are hard to uproot. The top is pulled, but the long taproot remains. Resilience, resistance, regeneration, decentralization. I want to read this one again. Dandelions. The dandelion flower head can change into a white, globular seed head overnight. Each seed has a tiny parachute that allows it to spread far and wide in the wind. The entire plant has medicinal properties. Dandelions are often mistakenly identified as weeds, aggressively removed, but are hard to uproot. The top is pulled, but the long taproot remains. Resilience, resistance, regeneration, and decentralization. I think about lyrics of Dene Suarez, who's an amazing Cuban musician, and it's, "Where I stand, there is no confused spirit." Obviously, that's the English translation. But this dandelion flower head, the universal connection to being rooted and grounded in these kinds of principles, in this abundance of being fully seen and fully used and fully embodied and fully able, however we are. Like the capacity to be seen and used. Oh my gosh. And so speaking and mirroring back, I see it a lot as just uncovering. This is the essence of why my creative project is called Intrinsic Paths, that this essence of all these different layers of our heart, of our experience, of our intuition, of our gut, of our what we feel to be unjust, of what we feel, where we've been hurt, our pain, where we store it, our joy, our dreams, and our thinking brain can all participate in these different settings and spaces, and what is possible, what universal parachute magic is possible when we are engaging all these places. So those were the 6, just the frames that are shared as a part of complex movements inside of Emergent Strategy: mycelium, ants, ferns, the wavicles, starlings, dandelions. So I'm just going to finish reading. I might have to do another video here because there's just so much. There's so much. I was hoping to get through the whole chapter, but I think we're just going to hold that. And then I'm going to do another video that goes into this. So this is part 1, because I want us to hold that. I want us to hold that. So we're gonna stop there. And I just want you, let's just take a deep breath with that. Just inviting those different invitations. Breathing out your questions, your curiosity, even the things that feel like, well, I don't even know where to begin. The uncertainty. Breathing that out. Breathing in abundance. Breathing out inner wisdom, inner ground, resilience. So let's just hold those questions, hold those themes. I would love to hear in the comment area. I would love to order this book. Follow Adrienne on Instagram if you use Instagram. I think she also has an email that goes out every once in a while. I am hoping at some point to get to one of her workshops where I could be better tooled as a facilitator of this kind of work, because I am all about it. The second part, I'm going to do another video down the road, and it'll be a little more, it'll tease out some of the questions, the default questions of like, I don't understand this. This is too foo-foo. This is, why would this, this doesn't apply to everyday work life spaces. Help me understand why I should eat. So if any of that is coming up for you, it's real. Like, that is real, and it belongs. So let's go, like, rewatch going through those 6 invitations. Cooperative, collective, uncertainty, decentralization, resilience, curiosity. Hold the curiosity, hold wonder, hold awe, and practice with your own being open to what starts to show up in you. Write some things down, speak some things, comment, share, take a photo of a flower and talk about how that connects to some of these words. And we'll see what emerges. Thanks for being with me. Thanks for your beloved support. If you're seeing this in the webs, all of this time and creative energy is made possible by Intrinsic Paths patrons, the people, the beloveds who are alongside this creative work. So if Intrinsic Paths and, inner freedom, vulnerability, I do a lot of walking culture, things related to walking and movement-based connection with earth and self and others. Art, creative magic in the spaces between, queer framing, identity, I'm LGBTQIA+, the human dignity and social justice and racial justice, identity develop, like all these things kind of moving into this more beloved, loving, and just relationship with ourselves and the planet. If that's of interest, if you want to come alongside, I would love to have you become a patron or just follow some of what's happening via Intrinsic Paths on all the media spaces. All right, peace.